I had to use your computer because my mouse broke and I can't use this
Don't
one.
remember saying go ahead and use that computer.
Oh, now you're in.
Don't remember saying go ahead and use that computer.
You're on YouTube.
It should be. I'll show you somebody with a really big head that uses his.
Oh my gosh. That's a classic.
He was a very happy baby.
Oh my gosh. No, you're fine.
I'll be upstairs doing my walk.
If you want to use a computer, you can use this one. Say when you get better at this. What the hell is that? Did you get the mail? Just a bunch of crap. Oh, there you are.
Oh, wow. Beth, you're in like 4 times.
Yeah, no, this is. I have to. Let me shut my microphone.
I just got back from my mother's place, so I'm just going to move some things around.
Oh, sure. How's your mom doing?
Oh, wow, that was an echo. She's doing all right. She's a nurse, so she's still working.
Oh, gosh. Has she had a lot of
Let's see.
contact with COVID people, or?
Let's see.
Oh, that's this way. Okay. So I was just realizing that in a few weeks, I'll be able to stream directly from Google Meet to YouTube because my account will be 30 days old. And it'll make everything so much easier. This is just like, it's not hard because I have 2 laptops. I'm fortunate in that. But it's sort of like I have to watch it on my computer and then stream my screen from the computer because that's what's going to be on YouTube.
Oh,
but then if I want to check if it's on YouTube, I got to go to another computer, and if I want to interact with you guys, I got to go. Yeah, so it's a little bit weird, but I mean,
that's not a pain.
When I was just thinking about when I started All Stories, I was really just committed to this idea that, or convinced of this idea that I had no excuses not to put shows on, because I have so many things at my disposal. So I'm trying to remind myself of that right now.
I mean, that's a good reminder too. I mean, we have so much technology at our disposal. It's like, why are we making excuses for not making art?
Right.
And for me, it's hard, but I'll be right back.
Yep.
Link up if you want to watch. I gotta figure out. It's like something I can prop my phone on. Let's see what I could use.
It's funny. It's live streaming right now because I couldn't figure out how to. I think it's probably always the same link, but I didn't want to risk it, so I just set it up like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I've just had it running.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, no one will come back till 7. Should open it.
Yeah, unlikely. Speaking of not having any excuses for things, I have no excuses for not knowing these lines off the top of my head.
You know, it's funny.
I wrote them.
You always think if you write them that you'll know them, but it doesn't really work that way.
I mean, what it does help is if it's written weird, then at least I know what I meant.
Yeah. That's like
so
when we did a knotted rope at the museum that time. I didn't know most of my lines, but I kind of knew what the scene was.
Right, exactly. So you can kind of...
Which isn't ideal, but, you know, it was kind of funny. How are you feeling about how it sounded like... Is that the kitty cat?
Yeah, that's his butt, sorry.
Putin. It seemed like you were pretty pleased with it yesterday.
Yeah, I was. I'm happy with the changes that John made, because I was reflecting on that, and I think that's probably my favorite moment in this play, actually. Yeah. And it's like, you know, the mystery is cool, because I do like the original mystery, and some of, like, I think Mrs. Hudson is wicked funny, and there are some other good moments, but I'm like, that is the heart of this story, and if we can nail that, then I'll be happy. So that's kind of why I was really picking on that moment.
Would you be interested in after this show for the upcoming week, talking about the script a little bit and maybe expanding it a little bit?
What do you mean by expanding it? Like making it a bigger story, or?
I think that the last bit where they're confronting each other, I think you can, or he's getting confronted by Watson. I think you could do even more. I'm looking at you, but my camera's over here, so it doesn't look like I'm looking at you.
Oh, I'm not even looking at the phone, so it's all right.
I think that just because I know how much you want to mine that conflict and that like feeling of betrayal and that kind of like here we go again, and the really interesting thing that you said yesterday about how this is Sherlock's way of getting him back. You know, we're gonna be a team again and whatever else, and I think that you can expand that if you wanted to. You could expand that into a bigger moment, because I think it's so subtle now. Like, I'm not really sure what Watson's feeling. I'm getting the depth of Sherlock's desperation. Yeah. But I think that if you really want to get into it, maybe there's a way you could communicate that Watson is feeling like that this is the straw that broke the camel's back. That this isn't just he's pissed off at him about this one thing, but that it's like here you go again, and all this kind of stuff.
Right. And I agree with you. I mean, I did write that quickly, but also, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think part of that is going to be in how I play it too.
Oh, sure.
And I don't know how well I'm going to do that tonight, but just sort of like conveying, like you're saying with, Sherlock's done things like this before, but this is the first time that he's feigned death. And really scared the crap out of Watson. And so it is like, I don't know if I can recover from this with you, at least not. I need to like think about it. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think there's more to mine there. And that is a really quick scene. It's only like a page and a half.
Yeah. And Sherlock does most of the, I mean, and it's completely up to you, because you can leave it as you want it, because I think it's a good ending for that moment. It's a good falling action after the guy gets caught, after the woman gets caught. But I think if you wanted to experiment a little bit with that argument, because it could start off with, I can't believe you told me you were dead, you asshole. And then it can go into, why are you always doing this? You never, and whatever else happens. And you can have it have the same non-resolution of he's like, yeah, I'm out of here. And Holmes realizing that he's gone too far, because once you said that about he's trying to keep him there, and he's like, come on. I started thinking about the show Elementary, and how that's such a thing that the Sherlock in that would do to the Watson in that, like, come on, we need this case, and totally just be oblivious to how idiotic the whole thing is. So I think that you got a lot of potential in there to play with the idea of those two having this kind of simmering conflict over about how Sherlock treats Watson and regards their relationship, if you wanted to.
No, I agree with you, and I agree that it's very, or at least it feels one-sided. So I'll go back and I'll think about that.
Because right now it kind of feels like Watson is reacting how most people would react if somebody faked that they were dying.
Yeah.
And so it could get to that level of very specific to Watson, why he feels like, because they have so much backstory and all this. And if you let the audience in a little bit on that, that would be, I think you could do a lot with that. But it's totally up to you, and it may not be something you want to do, or it may not be something you want to do for next week.
Sure.
But it's up to you. And I don't mean to I wasn't going to bring it up till after this, so I don't know why it just came to mind. But
no, that's okay, and I appreciate that. I'm kind of taking tonight as just like, this is an opportunity to kind of air the piece out.
Yeah.
And we'll, kind of take it from there. So I'll take a look at that, and I'll keep that in mind. Let's see. I'm gonna set this up here. All right. I saw an email from Lorna that she'll be coming at like 6:30.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I'm trying to think of how I'm going to set my phone up here. I usually put it just like on my laptop.
Yeah.
Sometimes it overheats. Take this down.
Are you using the phone for the camera or the audio?
Well, it's really both.
No.
But I'm using the laptop for the script.
Oh,
I
guess
the laptop doesn't have very good speakers.
Oh, that's right. Can you lean it against that jar behind you? You move the jar to the table?
Oh. Maybe we'll try this.
Have the cat sit there and just lean it against the cat.
What's that?
Have the cat sit there and lean it against the cat.
That's perfect. I'll do that. Love it. So, have you started writing anything for next week?
No, but I found one of the ones I want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work on that. It's just trying to keep it in this sort of English mystery realm to an extent.
Okay.
I might expand it a little bit. But we'll see. But so I'm going to look for another thing. I don't think I'm going to write something original because, I don't know, I find it difficult to plot mysteries.
Oh, I get that. It's not another Sherlock Holmes story, it's something else?
Yeah, it's a Father Brown, G.K. Chesterton.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like another drawing room. Like they're in this room, and this guy comes to him, and he's like, "Oh, this guy just got killed. You've got to solve this for me. I got to explain it to you." So then he explains it to him, and it's another kind of. We don't have to have detectives going around looking for clues. It's very stationary.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, Lord so and so killed Lord so and so.
Yeah.
British and everything. So we'll do that.
Sounds good.
I thought somebody just came into my house, but just and Regan. Oh, and John Trent.
Hey.
Being admitted.
Being admitted.
Hey, buddy.
Hello.
Hey, John.
Dude, we got a towel?
I'm feeling under the weather.
You're feeling under the weather? I'm sorry to hear that.
This isn't a towel, it's my sheet.
Is it the Sesame Street sheet from the other day?
Paisley.
Very nice.
Love it. That's great. All right.
Oh, Beth, I like your little still photo there, taking a picture of me.
That's my my movie camera.
Yeah.
Such as it is. Hasn't been used in a couple months, but...
Hey, Regan.
Hey, how you doing?
Why does Sherlock stay in bed the whole show? Because he's homesick.
Wow. That's
ruffled so much. Ruffling.
Here's Jamie.
Oh boy.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie.
Hey kids, what's up?
Ooh, your audio is really good.
Oh, why, thank you. What's up, John?
Hey, Jamie, I'm doing okay. How about you?
Good. Out and about today.
Good.
Getting stuff done. Good day to be out, even though it feels like fall.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cold here, too. Yeah.
It
Where are
snowed
you? You're in
this morning.
Massachusetts, Jamie?
Hmm?
You in Massachusetts?
What? Yes, Bridgewater. Where are you?
Tennessee.
Get out.
That's what the
I
state
did.
said.
No pun intended. I walked right into that one.
All right, guys, I'm going to turn off my mics and my cameras here, and I'll see you in a bit. Regan,
Okay.
good luck. The rest of you, break a leg. Oh, and
All right.
Regan, you break a leg too in the acting part of it.
All right. Just trying to set my stuff up here. So, Lorna's going to be coming a little later, and so is Aliyah. Her thing ran late. Jamie, how are you feeling about it? I know it's only about a page or so long, but do you have any thoughts or questions or anything?
I want to be on all pages. No, I'm just kidding.
If we were doing this play,
No, like, what do you mean?
I don't know, just like if there was anything that you were confused about or anything like that.
No, it's pretty straightforward, and I totally get the whole worry and annoyance with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I like it. I dig it. What are you laughing about, John?
I said you're used to that?
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding.
Have you ever seen any other like Sherlock Holmes adaptations?
Have I ever seen what?
Any Sherlock Holmes adaptations?
What's the? Okay, forgive me for asking this because there's so many different
Oh yeah, no,
things
absolutely.
out there. I don't know. I don't follow Sherlock, but I did watch the first few episodes, the one with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, I have a lot of feelings about that show, but I do also really like it. That's actually the show that kind of spurred my interest in this.
I get that, yeah.
One of those things where like I really liked it, and then in retrospect, you kind of see all the problems with it. But in general, like I really liked it, and I think in some ways it does improve on the original stories.
What's her name? Cheryl Mills?
Cheryl Mills?
Somebody Mills. There's a black woman. Maybe it wasn't Cheryl. Joy? Who is she? Friend of Val Sharpton's, apparently. We had her on. She was so, I don't know, history.
Oh, Sherilyn Eichel?
No, that was it.
Oh, histrionic? No.
No, just loud. Histrionic isn't even the right word. Just loud and, I want all mothers to know to love their kids. I've taught my son. She goes, my son he doesn't understand hate. He's 19. He doesn't know hate. He loves white girls. That's a very strange thing to say. What does that even mean? I don't know. Loves white girls. All right. Somebody knows.
Yeah, it's not started yet. If you go to, well, don't go on yet. But if you go to the All Stories page, or if you go to my Facebook page, I also follow. No, not that one. The actual website for like our office. But, or if you just go to mine, It's easier to follow. Just go to mine. Yeah. Just don't. Yeah. It's 7. Yeah. If you want to watch it rehearse, you can do it now. Actually, no, you can't because I shut it. Oh no, you can actually. That's fine. So whatever. How are you doing today? But it worked out. And it will. It'll be ha by the way. But how's the latest? Yeah. She's on her drugs. She on yeah. Yeah. Is she eating? She's just kind of chilling? Oh, alright, so it's normal. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. She just needs extra TLC, I'm sure. So you're gonna watch this thing at 7? It's gonna be good. They do a really good job. It's short too, so. It's not. Yeah. Do you want to call me or I'll call you after? Yeah, because I gotta make sure. I kind of make sure. I want to make sure it works. Yeah. All right, I'll press a bit then. Yeah. All right, good.
says no. And I'm rather annoyed at this point. This morning, Doctor, this morning, he looks like death. His eyes sunken in, his figure draped over the sofa, huddled in that blanket thin. I drop the tray and I says, Mr. Holmes, if you don't let me call a doctor this instant, you will die, or you'll be the death of me, between the heartache and the headache. And you know what he says?
Yes.
So help him God. In this hoarse voice I can scarcely hear, he says, okay then, if you must call someone, get Watson. If I must. Well, Dr. Watson, I must. And you must. Go, see him.
Are we
Then cool, but it was good the way it was too.
Okay. All right. Noted. Thank you, Regan.
Sure. So I think that's good for now. If you want a minute to pop off, and you could probably take like 20 minutes or so, we'll run the rest of it. Did you have anything that you wanted to go over? Or?
No.
Okay.
I'm good. I'll watch.
No problem. All right. So we'll keep going now. Aliyah, if you want to keep going.
And go Watson does, without another word. He bounds up the stairs with energy he hasn't exerted since he last. Wait. He bounds up the stairs with energy he hasn't exerted since he last had one of his many adventures with his former flatmate.
So that's if it's easier. This is one of those things that sound British to me. He bounds up the stairs with energy he hasn't exerted since he last had one of his many adventures with his former flatmate.
Yes.
Can I interject a technical thing?
Sure.
The thing that's gonna be screaming is my screen. And Aliyah,
Okay.
you're like very close to the computer, and I can't see your whole face. So if you want to move back just a little bit.
Oh well, I'm gonna be
Actually,
off
Aliyah's
camera anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Then never
I'm
mind.
going to that. Like,
I think everybody, Regan, the top. I don't know where you're gonna be sitting, but the top of your head is kind of cut off. All right, that's.
Okay.
You can move a little bit closer,
there
a little bit further back. Right there. Now don't move there for the next hour and a half.
You're
Mark
stuck
that,
now.
yes.
All right,
Hey,
thank
go
you.
into the other room. Go into your car. No.
Yeah. Right. All right.
all right.
Mark it.
Again, here we go.
Sure. Yeah.
And go Watson does, without another word. He bounds up the stairs with energy he hasn't exerted since he last had one of his adventures with his former flatmate. His heart races up each of those 17 familiar stairs, up to the second floor he knew so well. He knew to turn the handle just so that the particular quirk of catching, if forced quickly, would not bar him from his friend and his duty. Since their meeting nearly 8 years ago, Dr. Watson had found himself more than once instinctively driven to Holmes' side. The strained chemistry enthusiast who so instantly became his longtime flatmate. But their relationship was troubled. Here and there a disagreement, Here and there, a change in ambition, a growing distance. And Watson moved away, busied himself with his medical practice. Though separated by time and miles, these two men had never lost the thread that connects them. And now here comes Watson, once again, turning the doorknob. Here, he throws open the door.
Holmes.
But he finds the flat, instead of familiar, warm, if eccentric room, quite a horror. There are great yellow curtains. There are the great yellow curtains, drawn, dim. Gray light makes the time feel still and the air seem thick. There is his old writing desk, untouched, but a sorry sight in the scene. In a pile on the floor are crumpled papers, bullet casings, for Holmes was sometimes taken to firing into the wall and frightening poor Mrs. Hudson. There also in the pile was an ivory box, quite out of place. All things familiar and new together seemed haunted by the past and the present.
Holmes.
Watson, this is a fine spot we found ourselves in, isn't it?
When our doctor sees him, his horror returns anew. A thin arm has extended above the back of the sofa, long, sickly, frail. He rushes around to see, but just as he gets near, a voice, dry, sharp, shouting as best it can and sounding as if from underground for it.
Don't!
The voice barks. And that the voice is Holmes. Takes the breath out from our doctor. But he gathers his nerve. For this is the first time is not the first time he has seen injury or felt fear grip his very soul. He goes to approach once more.
Watson, if you should come any closer, I shall order you out of this house.
The detective's voice is masterful. The doctor knows it well, so used to yielding is he to its self-assured power, especially in moments of crisis. But Watson steels himself. He is no longer the young man he was, and he looks now to Holmes, as one does a charge he is bound to.
Something's the matter with you. You have called for me. I am here. If you refuse me when you're like this, you're not thinking straight.
Oh, my dear friend. If I must have someone to examine me, at least let me have someone whom I have confidence in.
Then you have none in me?
In your friendship, yes. But what I suffer from is rare, exceedingly so. Even someone with specialized training could kill me with the wrong care, and you are merely a general practitioner with limited experience and mediocre qualifications. It is painful to say these things, but you leave me no choice.
Such a remark is unworthy of you, Holmes. It shows me very clearly the state of your own nerves. But if you have no confidence in me, I would not intrude my services. If you'll not have me, you'll have another I'll bring. But someone you must have, and that's fine. If you think that I'm going to stand here and see you die, then you are mistaken.
You mean well. You mean well. Oh, shall I demonstrate your ignorance? What do you know of, pray, melon poisoning?
I've never heard of it.
I expected nothing else. By the name alone, of course, you can surmise it as a poison, and one that works slowly affects the nerves of the mind. If untreated or mistreated, I am done within a day. You can do nothing.
Perhaps not, but I need to try something. I'm getting Dr. Ainstreet, a physician in London who's well-versed in rare poisons.
Wait!
Watson, just about to resolutely leave, pauses and turns as if by instinct. Holmes' hand grips the back of the sofa as he speaks. His voice softens.
You have my best interests at heart. Then try something you can. but you must follow my instructions exactly. First, do you have change? Pocket change?
Yes, a few coins.
Distribute them between your front pockets. That'll balance you. Now.
As Holmes instructs his companion, Watson completes his duties. Though stricken with confusion, our doctor is used to taking directions he does not understand, as Holmes often has some plan he will not share. But all the time, Watson watches with worry and increasing hesitation as the tasks become more bizarre, and as his friend's thoughts seem to wander.
Take up those papers. Set them here so I can reach them. See that ivory box on the floor? No! Do not touch it. Use the tongs. Yes, just like that. And set it on the mantelpiece, if you would. Good man. Say, have you noticed how watching one wall for several hours, how like a moving object becomes? Like oysters. Hundreds of tiny oysters.
Holmes? Holmes?
Ah, Culverton Smith. A platter come from Broad Hill.
Watson listens, struggling to suppress the very noisy thought, objecting that a planter should do what a doctor should not.
314 Burke Street. Go to him and tell him how you found me delirious, raving, declining.
If he can help, I'll go. I'll drag him out by his ears.
Oh, you do no such thing. Go to him. Convince him to come, then leave. Tell him you're busy. Tell him you've patients to see. Anything. Tell him anything. But come back to me out of his sight. You'll do well, Watson. You've never failed me. You and I, we've done our part. How many cases have we solved? How many souls have we helped? So many. Yes.
John, can I actually have you pause there for a second? Sorry to interrupt you. I wonder, kind of per what we talked about yesterday towards the end, I wonder if you can find another way to bring out the line like "You'll do well, Watson. You've never failed me" as part of this, for lack of a better word, I guess, grooming him. That's kind of how he really gets him to be like, "You're going to do this for me. I know you will."
Confidence inspiring.
Yeah.
Okay. All from the top there?
Sure. Yeah, you can start a few lines in if you want, but yeah.
You'll do nothing of the kind. Go to him, convince him to come, then leave. Tell him you're busy, tell him you've patients to see. Anything, tell him anything. But come back to me out of his sight. You'll do well, Watson. You've never failed me. You and I, we've done our part. How many cases have we solved? How many souls have we helped? So many. Now, if I go, shall the world be overrun by oysters?
God help us.
Dr. Watson leaves his companion to this narrative, but the image of Holmes, laying supine, mind raving, something about oysters, is burned into his memory. He races into the hansom and demands it to drive at top speed to 314 Burke Street. All the while, the image replays. And Watson fears that this is a wild chase, and he could be touching another physician, an experienced physician, as it were. He wonders, too, what happens when a mind is distorted. How much can he trust that Holmes knows how this story will end, as he so often has? Our doctor finds Mr. Culverton Smith finds him cautious about the quest, yet amicable to oblige. In fact, Smith seems almost tantalized by the idea of the detective begging his presence in his most dire moment of need. And, as instructed, Watson convinces him to go alone and makes his way in secret back up those stairs, back to his companion at 221 Baker Street.
Holmes?
Upon approaching that again familiar door, Watson again prepares himself, this time for the worst. He pushes the door open to find the scene much as he'd left it. When he sees Holmes' thin arm raise itself once more above the sofa, he exhales in relief. Yet coming round to face his companion, his heart sinks. His heart again sinks, for the eyes look more bored in. Time, he shudders to realize, is truly slipping through the hourglass. The subject of demanding an examination is on the very tip of his tongue. What gives our doctor pause? The same as always. The mastery of the man. What conflicts him? The weakness Holmes never shows. That these moments should prove so precious, Watson trembles to wonder whether he has chosen correctly to trust him.
There you are. You've done it?
I did.
What did you tell him? How did you convince him?
That you heard of his particular expertise on plant-based poisons.
Excellent. Very much so. You've done well. You've done exactly as I asked. Exactly as a good friend would.
Yes. Well, he's coming. Now, will it hurt to let me examine you? At least if this Culverton Smith can't help, I can fetch another physician straight away.
No!
Sorry, can we go back? That's my bad. At least if this Culverton Smith can't help, I can fetch another physician straight away.
No!
No? Why on earth not?
Now, in all the years Sherlock Holmes and John Watson have known each other, seldom has our doctor ever asked this question.
Because I said so. Is that not enough?
Watson stands in silence. Then, suddenly, a sound breaks the trance. Footsteps up on the stairs.
Go now, Watson.
Go. Where? In the bedroom?
Behind the curtains, if you please.
Seriously?
Oh, now, please, Watson, do not question me more. Quick, if you love me.
Watson obeys, rushing to the curtain and casting it over himself. Concealed he is, as just in time, for Culverton Smith has just crossed the threshold. Holmes lies there, huddling under his blankets, clutching at his midsection, appearing quite in pain. Behind his closed eyes, he sees only darkness, but feels someone now shaking him and calling out. You're muted. There you go.
Mr. Holmes. Hang on a second. Mr. Holmes, hang on. Oh my goodness. Where am I? Okay. Mr. Holmes. For God's sake, man, can you hear me?
Thank heavens you've come. I almost thought you wouldn't.
You look unwell.
I feel unwell. I'm very much in your debt, if I may borrow from your special knowledge.
You're the only one I've known to appreciate that. Can you sit up?
No, I can't. Not for 2 days, I can't. It's intolerable. You must help me. I can make a trade.
What did you say?
I'll keep your secret. I won't tell anyone, not a soul.
Our planter hovers over Holmes now, kneels beside the feet of the couch, his figure a shadow. He leans in close as Holmes speaks.
I know you did it. And you did it to your nephew, too.
Culverton's shadow goes still. A cold chill goes through Watson, who is still concealed behind the curtain.
Huh? So you do?
He's just a lad. And you're a bully. The worst of your kind. You could still save him.
How can you prove it?
Holmes cries out.
Ah, please, I beg of you, anything for the pain. You brought something, yes?
Tell me, how do you think you got this poison in you? Huh? How did it happen?
I don't. My mind is clouded, please.
Still hidden, Watson finds himself gripping the curtain. How long can he stand this play? How long can he take the chance when he could do what he believes is right?
You're fond of your smarts. Well, think now, how did you come to be this way? Anything unusual that you did?
No, nothing.
Think again.
Have mercy.
You've really gone, Mr. Holmes. I'll help your sorry mind. Did you receive anything by post?
Post?
In the last week, by chance? A box?
Yes, there was a box, a mechanism inside. When I opened it, a sharp spring came out and punctured me.
Ah, there you have it.
That box over there, I left it on the mantelpiece.
Oh, Watson's eyes dart to where the shadow of Holmes' arms points, outstretched and weak. Culverton silently stands. His figure strides across the room to the fireplace. Carefully, he lifts the little ivory box and cradles it in his arm.
May as well leave with this. No, it's been a pleasure.
I have one last request of you, sir.
Ah?
Would you please stay there while I call for a meal? I'm starving.
Watson audibly gasps. Holmes' voice is bright and cheery. The detective springs to his feet, casting the blankets to the floor and straightening his silk robe. Watson now draws back the curtain enough to see Culverton Smith facing away from him, standing as a man stricken by the impossible.
Introductions are in order. Mr. Smith, if you please give Watson the courtesy of your acknowledgement.
This was a face Watson had no desire to see spin around, his neck like an alarmed owl, all puffed up and red-faced.
Doctor, can you attest to everything you heard here? I believe you can.
Sorry, mic was off. I can.
In this moment, another set of footsteps bangs up the stairs, and in comes an officer. He says something about a call the station received with information about the poisoning of a young boy. Upon seeing the stage of these three, one leisurely dressed in a pile of blankets at his feet, another who appeared to be holding his breath, and yet another who just now is emerging from behind a curtain. Handily, the villain is apprehended. Mrs. Hudson, hearing the commotion, charges up the stairs and scolds 1,000 times. He puts a damp cloth to his face and takes off the makeup he has caked there to play his part. When finally she has said all her "how dare yous" and resolves aloud never to feel sorry for him again, she leaves. And the room is suddenly once again transformed. Quiet. Dim. And it is Holmes and Watson once more, alone, at 221B Baker Street.
Well then, Watson.
A pause. Holmes sits on the sofa, kicking away the blankets. Watson stands opposite, near the door.
Could I interest you in supper?
I thought you were dying.
Ah, yes. A performance of supreme commitment. I haven't eaten a proper meal since Tuesday. Did you know if you feign stomach cramps well enough, there's actually pain? Watson, will you sit with me for a while? You performed excellently. Really, I couldn't be more impressed.
But, Holmes, I believed you.
Exactly as you do.
But why?
There you are again. Why? Oysters. Do you remember? If you hadn't believed I was going, well and truly going, you wouldn't have been so convincing. Culverton would have suspected you. You needed to play this part. And look, he's in custody and can be compelled to save his nephew. A boy's life is saved. We did that. You and I.
As Holmes springs to his feet in passion, gesturing towards his companion, Watson takes a step back towards the door.
The play and reality. You've blurred the two.
Holmes' arms, after a moment's hesitation, returns limply to his sides. He sits, hands on knees.
Okay, Watson. Do me a favor, will you?
What's that?
Think well of me. I'll think on myself.
For a moment's time, the two men are quite still. Then, Watson wordlessly exits, shutting the door behind him. And as Holmes looks around, he sees that writing desk his friend used to frequent so often. He crosses to the door, brings it ajar. It remains that way throughout the night.
All right, great. Aliyah, there was a way that you read that like second to last line that I actually really, really liked. There was almost something like sad about it, like brings it ajar. I wonder if you can bring that into that last line. There's something like really sad about that line. Would you be able to try that?
I mean, yeah, I'll keep it in mind.
Sure.
Regan, if you want, in the footsteps, I can do the footsteps.
Oh, okay.
If it's easier.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna say maybe it'll be easier if you're walking up the stairs, you should do the footsteps.
Yeah.
Before you come in.
Yeah.
You're in charge of your own Foley sound.
Yeah.
A quick technical note. You guys are awesome, by the way. Regan, I know this is like rehearsal, so you probably wouldn't do it during the show, but try not to keep adjusting your camera because it's.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
It's because I'm actually not. I don't know if this is what you're referring to. I'm not adjusting the camera. I've got my laptop off to the side, so I'm like scrolling.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
Okay. All right.
I'll have to keep that in mind. Maybe there's a better way I can do that. I mean, memorizing it is a good start. But that's not what happened.
And the other thing was
Do that in 15 minutes.
the other thing was John. Before you transform into Happy Holmes, you were sunk down a little low, so we couldn't really see your face. I mean, we could see your face, but like only like 2/3 of it. And then as soon as you propped up, it was like, there you are. So I know it's a physical transition, but just be careful because it's like it looks really weird when like half the face is on there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay.
Oh, okay. Regan, were you gonna have, not to butt in, but were you gonna have Jamie and all show up on the screen again when they're talking about Miss Hudson? Because it seems weird to mention her after we've already seen her and then mention her again and she's not there. Because she could just go like, whatever. I don't know. It's up to you because it might not work.
I had that thought, and I almost think that while Aliyah is saying those lines, that it makes sense for her to be saying, "How dare you?" and "Come here, let me see your
going off on him
after washcloth." I think that if she could do that, if Jamie, you can do that.
Jamie's like, yeah.
I was thinking this. I'm like, I need more Jamie in here.
Oh, stop it.
And do you want to go over how you can start and stop?
What page is
Who's going
that?
to be covered? Who's going to be...
Sorry, I can't hear you, Beth. What?
Do you want to go over how you're going to start? Because you're actually streaming right now, so...
Oh, that's fun.
I don't think anyone's watching right now, but...
We're streaming? Ooh.
Like, if you're going to introduce it, or if you want somebody else to introduce it, like Aliyah, because she's the narrator, or however you want to do it.
I
Or
probably should
you
have thought of that. Lorna. I'll introduce it, I think, and then at the end, we'll give Aliyah a beat, and then we'll all bow. I'll say something like, "Thank you for coming. We're going to have an encore performance of this play, along with some other original pieces." It's original, Beth, is what you're writing?
Adaptations.
Okay. More
Classic adaptations.
in the same vein. Next week, and are we planning like Sunday at 7?
Sunday at 7, yeah.
To be decided. Most likely Sunday at 7. Okay.
And
then,
if you want
if you want to pop in at the end too.
Do you want to introduce? Do you want to let your? How are you gonna? Do you guys want to introduce yourselves at the start or at the end, or not at all, or?
Yeah, we can introduce ourselves. I think that's typically what we've been doing, so I think that makes sense. All right, maybe we'll just practice that real quick. I guess it's tough because I can't see everybody's face on my phone. I can only see me and one other person. But all right. Thank you for coming tonight. This is an adaptation.
Your head is a little cut off.
I marked it. I gotta fix the mark. Probably because I adjusted my phone. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Regan Wilder, and I wrote this adaptation of Arthur Conan Doyle's original Sherlock Holmes story called The Dying Detective. This is a very close adaptation with a twist at the end that wasn't in the original. So we'll introduce our cast. I'll be playing Dr. John Watson tonight. We also have the fabulous John Trent as Sir Sherlock Holmes, and we have Aliyah Harris as our narrator. We have Lorna as the villain, Culverton Smith, and we also have. Oh, I was trying to think of who else we have. Who else do we have? We have Amy as Mrs. Hudson. I don't know last names.
Wow. Lorna, how do you say your last name?
Nogueira.
Nogueira?
Yep.
Nogueira, beautiful. All right.
But people say it all different ways, and I'll take anything.
Lorna, you said it's Nogueira?
Nogueira, yeah.
Like Degeurra?
No, N.
N, yeah, sorry.
Nogueira?
I've been called McGuire, like Nogueira. It's crazy.
So Nogueira. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then Jamie, how do you pronounce your last name?
Poskitt.
I literally
Poskitt.
just I don't know it.
Poskitt.
So
Poskitt. Yeah, just Poskitt. I don't know how to Poskitt. There's no accent. A lot of people like Poskitt. No. It's Poskitt. Poskitt. Poskitt.
All right. I'm going to take a second because I want to send the link out to a couple of people.
Okay. I'm going to run to the bathroom.
How long is it? About 40 minutes? 40 minutes?
10 minutes?
What?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying how long until 7. I don't know. I haven't timed it. Probably like 25 minutes, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I should know that.
Yeah, it might be cool if you close your camera off and then at Regan's command, so to speak, when he's going to start, you can reveal yourselves. Nice. Just so when people are looking at it now, they know it's not started yet. Because they're going to probably start coming on right about now. Break a leg, everybody!
Thank you.
Lorna, do you know your mic's on?
What?
Hey, Lorna,
Yep.
do you know your mic's on?
I do now. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm told we have an audience, so we're gonna do it. So my name is Regan Wilder, and I've written this piece that we have tonight. I just now wrote a brief little thing that I'm gonna just say ahead of time. So tonight we're gonna visit the world of the most famous detective, Sherlock Holmes, and his longtime companion, Dr. Watson. Many know Holmes as a brilliant, logical mind with a talent for solutions that otherwise would have been lost in his era. But few people know Sherlock Holmes know who Sherlock Holmes is when the crime has been solved and the clients have exited stage left. His private life as a person, and with his friend Dr. Watson, is a study that deserves its own rapt attention. With that, I hope you enjoyed this close adaptation of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's short story, The Dying Detective. I'll be playing Dr. John Watson. Please also welcome John Trent as Mr. Sherlock Holmes, Aliyah Harris as our narrator, Lorna Nogueira as our villain, Culverton Smith, and Jamie Poskitt as the venerable Mrs. Hudson. Aliyah, you all set?
Oh, I was on mute. He's made it. This man who's just flown into the homely little building at 221B Baker Street is Dr. John Watson. The woman who rushes to meet him is Mrs. Hudson, the landlady who owns this building and has been a long acquaintance of the doctor's.
I'm here. Mrs. Hudson, I've come as quick as I can. What is it? What's the matter?
Oh, Dr. Watson, it's terrible. You need to see him. Go. Shoo.
Well, might you tell me what's been happening?
That man. I brought him his meals each day the last week. He looked pale each time I saw him. He used to leap for his breakfast. Nowadays he draws a blanket around himself and croaks, "I'll see what I can keep down," with this smile, like he's sorry to bother me. Then I try to approach him, and he barks at me to go away, the dolt. And you best believe I begged him to let me call a doctor. Last week I said, I'm getting a doctor. No, he says. No explanation, just no. Then 3 days ago, he wouldn't even stand to come to the table. I said, I'm getting a doctor. And you know what he says?
No?
No. He says no. And I'm rather annoyed at this point. This morning, doctor, this morning, he looks like death, his eyes sunken in, his figure draped over the sofa, huddled in that blanket. Then I dropped the tray. I says, Mr. Holmes, if you don't let me call a doctor this instant, you will die, or you'll be the death of me between the heartache and the headache. And do you know what he says?
Yes?
So help him God. In his hoarse voice, I can scarcely hear, he says, okay then, if you must call someone, get Watson. If I must. Well, Dr. Watson, I must. And you must go. Go see him.
And go Watson does, without another word. He bounds up the stairs with energy he hasn't exerted since he last had one of his many adventures with his former flatmate. His heart races up each of those 17 familiar steps, up to the second floor he knew so well. He knew to turn the handle just so that its particular quirk of catching, if forced quickly, would not bar him from his friend and his duty. Since their meeting nearly 8 years ago, Dr. Watson has found himself more than once instinctively driven to Holmes' side. The strange chemistry enthusiast who so instantly became his longtime flatmate. But their relationship was troubled. Here and there a disagreement, here and there a change in ambition, a growing distance. And Watson moved away, busied himself with his medical practice. Though separated by time and miles, these two men have never lost the thread that connects them. And now here comes Watson, once again, turning that doorknob. Here, he throws open the door.
Holmes!
He finds the flat, instead of familiar, warm, if eccentric room, quite a horror. There are the great yellow curtains drawn, dim. Gray light makes time feel still and the air seem thick. There, his old writing desk, untouched, but a sorry sight in this scene. In a pile on the floor there are crumpled papers, bullet casings. For Holmes was sometimes taken to firing into the wall and frightening poor Mrs. Hudson. There also, in the pocket of the box, quite out of place. All things familiar and new, together seemed haunted by the past and the present.
Holmes?
Watson, this is a fine spot we found ourselves in, isn't it?
When our doctor sees him, his horror returns anew. A thin arm has extended above the back of the sofa, long, sickly, frail. He rushes around to see, but just as he gets near, a voice, dry, sharp, shouting at best it can, and sounding as if from underground for it.
Don't!
The voice barks, and that the voice is Holmes. Takes the breath from our doctor, but he gathers his nerve, for this is not the first time he has seen injury or felt fear grip his very soul. He goes to approach once more.
Watson, if you come any closer, I shall order you out of this house.
The detective's voice is masterful. The doctor knows it well, so used to yielding to its self-assured power, especially in moments of crisis. But Watson steels himself. He is no longer the young man he was, and he looks now to Holmes as one does to a charge he is bound to.
Something's the matter with you. You have called for me. I'm here. If you refuse me when you're like this, you're not thinking straight.
Oh, dear friend. If I must have someone to examine me, at least let me have someone in whom I have confidence.
Then you have none in me?
In your friendship, yes, but what I suffer from is rare. Exceedingly so. Even with someone specialized medical training could kill me with the wrong care. And you are merely a general practitioner with limited experience and mediocre qualifications. It is painful to say these things, but you leave me no choice.
Such a remark is unworthy of you, Holmes. It shows me very clearly the state of your own nerves. But if you have no confidence in me, I would not intrude my services. If you'll not have me, you'll have another. I'll bring. But someone you must have, and that's fine. If you think I'm going to stand here and see you die, then you are mistaken.
You mean well. Oh, shall I demonstrate your ignorance? What do you know of, pray, melon poisoning?
I've never heard of it.
I expected nothing else. By the name alone, of course, you can surmise it is a poison, one that works slowly, affecting the nerves, the mind. If untreated or mistreated, I am done within the day. You can do nothing.
Perhaps not. But I mean to try something. I'm getting Dr. Ainstreet, a physician in London who's well versed in rare poisons.
Wait!
Watson, just about to resolutely leave, pauses and turns if by instinct. Holmes' hand grips the back of the sofa as he speaks. His voice softens.
You've my best interest at heart, and try something you can. But you must follow my instruction exactly. First, do you have change? Pocket change.
Sure, a few coins.
Distribute them between your front pockets. That'll balance you. Now.
As Holmes instructs his companion, Watson completes his duties. Though stricken with confusion, our doctor is used to taking directions he does not understand, as Holmes often has some plan he will not share. But all the time, Watson watches with worry and increasing hesitation as the tasks become more bizarre and as his friend's thoughts seem to wander.
Take up those papers. Set them here so I can reach them. See that ivory box on the floor? No, do not touch it! Use the tongs. Yes, just like that. And set it on the mantelpiece. If you would. That's good man. Say, have you noticed how watching one wall for several hours, how like a moving object it seems? Like oyster. Hundreds of tiny oysters.
Holmes.
Culverton Smith, a planter come from abroad. He'll help.
Watson listens, struggling to suppress the very noisy thought objecting that a planter should do what a doctor should not.
314 Burke Street. Go to him and tell him how you found me delirious, raving, declining.
If he can help, I'll go. I'll drag him out by his ears.
You'll do nothing of the kind. Go to him. Convince him to come, yes. Then leave. Tell him you're busy. Tell him you've patience to see. Tell him anything. But come back to me, out of his sight. You'll do well, Watson. You've never failed me. You and I, we've done our part. How many cases have we solved? How many souls have we helped? So many. Now, if I go, shall the world be overrun by oysters?
Oh, God help us.
Dr. Watson leaves his companion to this narrative, but the image of Holmes, playing supine, mind raved, Something about oysters is burned into his memory. He races into a hansom and demands it to drive at top speed to 314 Burke Street. All the while the image replays. And Watson fears that this is a wild chase where he could be fetching another physician, an experienced physician, as it were. He wonders, too, what happens when a mind is distorted. How much can he trust that Holmes knows how the story will end, as he so often has? Our doctor finds Mr. Culverton Smith. He finds him cautious about his request, yet amendable to oblige. In fact, Smith seems almost tantalized by the idea of the detective begging his presence in his most dire moment of need. And, as instructed, Watson convinces him to go alone and makes his way in secret back up those stairs, back to his companion at 221B Baker Street.
Holmes.
Upon approaching that again familiar door, Watson again prepares himself, this time for the worst. He pushes the door open to find the scene much the same as he left it. When he sees Holmes' thin arm raise itself once more above the sofa, he exhales in relief. Yet coming round to face his companion, his heart sinks again, for the eyes look more bored in. Time, he shudders to realize, is truly slipping through the hourglass. The subject of demanding an examination is on the very tip of his tongue. What gives our doctor pause? The same as always. The mastery of the man. What conflicts him? The weakness Holmes never shows. That these moments should prove so precious. Watson trembles to wonder whether he has chosen correctly to trust him.
Ah, there you are. You've done it.
I did.
What did you tell him? How did you convince him?
Had you heard of his particular expertise on plant-based poisons?
Excellent, excellent. Very much so. You've done well. You've done exactly as I asked, exactly as a good friend would.
Yes. Well, he's coming. Now, will you let me examine you? At least if this Culverton Smith can't help, I can fetch another physician straight away.
No.
No? Why on earth not?
Now, in all the years Sherlock Holmes and John Watson have known each other, seldom has our doctor ever asked this question.
Because I said so. Is that not enough?
Watson stands in silence. Then suddenly, a sound breaks the trance. Footsteps on the stairs.
Go now, Watson.
Go? Where? Into the bedroom?
Behind the curtains, if you please.
Seriously?
Now, please, Watson, do not question me more. Quick, if you love me.
Watson obeys, rushing to the curtain and casting it over himself. Concealed he is, as just in time for Culverton Smith to just cross the threshold. Holmes lies there, huddled under his blankets, clutching his midsection, appearing quite in pain. Behind his closed eyes he sees only darkness, but feels someone now shaking him and calling out.
Mr. Holmes, for God's sake, man, can you hear me?
Thank heavens you've come. I almost thought you wouldn't.
You look unwell.
I feel unwell. I'm very much in your debt, if I may borrow from your special knowledge.
You're the only one I've known to appreciate that. Can you set up?
No, I can't. If not for 2 days, I can't. It's intolerable. You must help me. I can make a trade.
What did you say?
I'll keep your secrets. I won't tell anyone, not a soul.
Our planter hovers over Holmes now, kneels beside the feet of the couch, his figure a shadow. He leans in close as Holmes speaks.
I know you did it. And you did it to your nephew, too.
Culverton's shadow goes still. A cold chill goes through Watson, who is still concealed behind the curtain.
Ah, so you do.
He's just a lad. And you're a bully. The worst of your kind. You could still save him.
How can you prove it?
Holmes cries out.
Please, I beg you, anything for the pain. You brought something. Yes.
Tell me, how do you think this poison got in you? Huh? How did that happen?
I don't know. My mind is clouded. Please.
Still hidden, Watson finds himself gripping the curtain. How long can he stand this play? How long can he take the chance when he could do what he believes is right?
You're fond of your smarts. You're pink now. How did you come to be this way? Anything unusual you did?
No, nothing.
Think again.
Have mercy.
You've really gone, Mr. Holmes. I'll help your sorry mind. Did you receive anything by post?
Post?
In the last week, by chance? A box?
Yes, there was a box. A mechanism inside. When I opened it, a sharp spring came out and punctured me.
There you have it.
That box over there, I put it on the mantelpiece.
Watson's eyes dart to where the shadow of Holmes' arms point, outstretched and weak. Culverton silently stands. His figure strides across the room to the fireplace. Carefully, he lifts the little ivory box and cradles it in his arm.
May as well leave with this. No. It's been a pleasure.
I have one last request of you, sir. Would you please stay there while I call for a meal? I'm absolutely starving.
Watson audibly gasps. Holmes' voice is bright and cheery. The detective springs to his feet, casting the blankets to the floor, and straightens his silk robe. Watson now draws back the curtain enough to see Culverton Smith facing away from him, standing with a man stricken by the impossible.
Introductions are in order, Mr. Smith. If you'll please give Watson the courtesy of your acknowledgments.
This was a face Watson had no desire to see spin around his neck like an alarmed owl, all puffed up and red-faced.
Doctor, can you test everything you heard here?
I can.
In this moment, another set of footsteps bangs up the stairs, and in comes an officer. He says something about a call the station received with information about the poisoning of a young boy. Upon seeing the stage of these three, one leisurely dressed with a pile of blankets at his feet, another who appears to be holding his breath, and yet another who just now is emerging from behind a curtain. Handily, the villain is apprehended. Mrs. Hudson, hearing the commotion, charges up the stairs and scolds Holmes 1,000 times. She puts a damp cloth to his face and takes off the makeup he has caked there to play his part. When finally she has said all her how dare yous and resolves aloud never to feel sorry for him again, she leaves, and the room is suddenly once again transformed. Quiet. Dim. And it is Holmes and Watson once more, alone, at 221 B. Street.
Well then, Watson.
A pause. Holmes sits on the sofa, kicking away the blankets. Watson stands opposite, near the door.
Can I interest you in supper?
I thought you were dying.
Yes, a performance of supreme commitment. I haven't eaten a proper meal since Tuesday. Did you know if you feign stomach cramps well enough, there's actually pain? Watson, will you sit with me for a while? You performed excellently. Really, I couldn't be more impressed.
I did. But Holmes, I believed you.
Exactly as you do.
But why?
There you are again. Why? Oysters, do you remember? If you hadn't believed I was going, well and truly going, you wouldn't have been so convincing. Culverton would have suspected you. You needed to play this part. And look, he's in custody and can be compelled to save his nephew. A boy's life is saved. We did that. You and I.
As Holmes springs to his feet in passion, gesturing towards his companion, Watson takes a step backwards towards the door.
The play and reality. You've blurred the two.
Holmes' arms, after a moment's hesitation, returns limply to his sides. He sits, hands on knees.
Okay, Watson. Do me a favor, will you?
What's that?
Think well of me. I'll think on myself.
For a moment's time, the two men are quite still. Then, Watson wordlessly exits, shutting the door behind him. And as Holmes looks around, he sees that writing desk his friend used to frequent so often. He crosses to the door, brings it ajar. It remains that way through the night.
Thank you for coming, everyone, again. Again, John Trent as Sherlock Holmes, Aliyah Harris as narrator, Laura Nogueira as our Culverton Smith, Jamie Poskitt as Mrs. Hudson, and I was Dr. John Watson. Let's all take a bow here, as we all do virtually. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. And for all right. I don't know, Beth, if you're on still, if you've disconnected the...
Her mic's off.
Mic's off?
Mic's off. There she is.
Regan, were you going to say a few words about next week?
Oh, yes. Thank you. So next week we'll be doing an encore performance of this piece. I might touch a few things up. Beth will also be doing a couple of other pieces that she'll be adapting kind of in the similar vein of some mystery. So please stay tuned for those and tune in next week. We'll be doing them Sunday at our regularly scheduled time at 7 p.m.
Yay! Good to see everybody.
All right.